I'm Lily.
And I'm Jordan.
And we are the Drakes.
Welcome to Drake Academy. Today's a special episode for us. We hit 1,000 subscribers. Yay!
Yay!
So we're really excited about it. Thank you everyone for all the support so far. When we set out, we had a goal of around, we said we hit 1,000 subscribers around this time frame, and we hit it literally the day before like our deadline to get it. So really awesome. We really appreciate all the support. Big shout out to y'all from That's a Good Card Podcast. I almost screwed that up. For being our 1,000th subscriber. Really appreciate it. And hopefully to thousands more down the road. So, but for our episode today, for our icebreaker, we're going to talk about our new favorite cards that are coming out from the set. What's it called? The Secrets of Strixhaven?
Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
Or something Strixhaven. It's Strixhaven. I don't remember what that's actually called. But we'll talk through some of our favorite arts and then some cool cards that we think that might be included in our decks. And then before we're going to transition to our main topic today, breaking down the top 10 decks in the format, why we believe these are the top 10 decks, and then talk about what it means for you. Before lastly, we're going to go through what we always do, answer some questions from the audience, and then do a meta breakdown of a big tournament. So let's jump right into it. But first, a word from our sponsors. First up, we have our buddy Chris, who is going to be the special guest at the Wilkes-Barre Beatdown this weekend in Pennsylvania. We've got all the link information here, so make sure to click on that and register if you're in Pennsylvania, if you're interested in going to Wilkes-Barre. I think this is like a really big Excalibur event that happens all the time, so yeah, make sure to check it out and see our new Director of Marketing and Creativity? Media?
Social media?
No.
Design.
So of design at Team Monolith. So super ecstatic for him to get that opportunity. And then check out Misplay on the Lake, which will be next weekend, April 18th in Cleveland, Ohio. We've got pretty huge turnout for this event. I think we're going to be easily diamond level. Team Monolith is going to have a pretty large turnout. I think it's going to be like myself, Lily, of course. Buddy Hayward's joining us. Chris is joining us. We've got B, Matt, Corwin, Jay Wood. I'm trying to think of what else might be there. Zeke might come down from Minnesota, maybe. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Anyway, we're gonna have a large turnout. We're gonna have a big team presence there, so really excited for this event. Should be a really fun one. Ohio's a great area for CEDH, so really excited to get out to this one. We're also, of course, sponsored by Animal House Cards through our sponsorships with Team Monolith. We are super excited to have them as a sponsor, and you can check out their TCG link here for all your single needs and any other product that you might want to buy. We're also, of course, sponsored by Heavy Play. You can go to heavyplay.com/monolith or use code monolith when checking out for 10% off your order. And they just released these cool bundles kits, which are very similar actually to what they sent us when we were sponsored. If you watched us open the product on the show, this is basically what you get, right? It was the playmat, the dice box, and the deck box, all in one convenient bundle, so which is really cool. Plus, they have these cool art playmats that came out. I am actually putting in my order for the Dragon one today, so I bought it. It's happening. I'm going to hopefully show it off on the channel when I get it, because I'm really excited for it. So it should be sick. But yeah, I think that's it for our sponsors this week. Let's roll into the show. So Strixhaven sets are known mostly for their mystical archives. I think this is like kind of the unique framing, displaying, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, that the set has. It's these really cool arts. They are some of my favorite arts in all of Magic, the style of it. My Demonic Tutor that I run is like this. My Swords of Plowshare that I used to run is like this. Not sure if I have any other arts that are like this, but I'd have to look again. But these are just really cool. Mm-hmm. Really, really fantastic arts. And what's really cool about this year's set is it feels like somebody was whispering little CEDH thoughts into Watsy's ear, like, hey, how about a brain freeze and an Adnos? Maybe a little crop rotation action. Oh, if we're going to cast that Adnos, we need a Culling of the Week. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely feels like there was some whispering into the ears of the designers, and we got some fantastic arts that I think we're really excited about. So Lily, what's your favorite art?
So I think it's a toss-up between the Psychrift and the Culling of the Week.
Shocker, the cat ones.
Both of the, I believe they're Japanese full arts.
The Japanese arts are incredible, incredible
so
in this set.
Both of them feature cats. The the culling the week has a cat kind of doing a little turn, and we'll insert the art here. It's much easier to see than listen to me fail at explaining it. But the cat is almost in like a little crescent moon shape, and it has like a tuxedo cat pattern, kind of like Nova. It's really adorable. And then the Cycrift cat is just cute. I just want to hug that cat. I don't know. Could just be me.
That's fair. They are really cool.
Yeah.
I know you're joking about, like, I need to find a Felister Cycrift back now.
No, I literally cut Cycrift last week, which is the really, really sad part. And then right after I made the decision to take it out of Pirate Farm, 2, maybe 3 days later, I see that art. Truly unfair. Also the Brain Freeze. Honorable mention on my list, Brain Freeze.
What about the Adnos?
Good point. Honorable mention, Brain Freeze and Adnos.
I'm a big fan of the crop rotation.
Of course.
I think both the art, the regular art and the Japanese art are both pretty cool. I tend to lean more towards the Mystical Archive one. If I had to choose a Japanese one that like really resonated to me, the Days was really cool. The dragon tree thing.
Cool.
Yeah, this one is super sick.
Also, another honorable mention. This could be my top 10. This is the real top 10 of the video. The Jessica's Will.
Dude,
Have you seen the J Will?
The J Will is really cool.
It's so good.
I saw the Culling Ritual got one as well. And the Culling Ritual looks really cool. Also, what was it the Pyretic Ritual? The Pyretic Ritual looks sick.
RAL players are eating good.
They got a lot of nice art.
RAL players are eating, and farm players.
I feel like a lot of CEDH players just got like some really nice, awesome cards.
Oh yeah.
It's like they can bling some decks out. We're gonna be dropping some money on this set.
take my wallet.
Just for the Mystical Archive. Like the rest of the set's like, whatever. We want the Mystical Archive.
Yeah. And normally I'm not a foreign art card person, but I will make exceptions for those Japanese full art cards. I do not care.
Nice. Are there any actual cards that you've been excited about from this set?
What's the name of it? It's the blue and an X. It's maybe not disrupting, but basically it says you can take cards from your graveyard and replay them this turn. It's another card that probably goes in RAL, honestly, but it just helps like storm type strategies. And I think some people were strategizing in the Malcolm Vial Discord that it makes intuition piles easier.
Okay.
And
interesting.
It negates the need for Lively Dirge in the pile because no matter what they give you, you get your Reanimate back to cast your Reanimate and get your Glinthorn. And it's net cheaper than Dirge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What about that, the Tide Caller that's like a really cool addition to Breach lines?
I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't know if that will be a staple in every Breach deck. I think non-blue Breach decks.
No, that's not Gravestorm, the creature.
Not Gravestorm?
No, the blue creature, the 1 blue mana where whenever you cast a spell, mill 3.
I don't know that it's better than Grinding Station. I feel like if you're already on Grinding Station, that slot is kind of full.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I could be wrong though.
For me, I'm super excited for Silver Quill, the Disputant. Giving all your spells casualty 1 in a deck that goes really wide, like TNT. I think this card's gonna be a staple in our deck.
Nice.
Like, I cast Demonic Tutor, I sack one of my, like a cat, and I make another Demonic Tutor. That's gross.
Yeah, that's pretty busted.
All my green spells, all of a sudden I have 2 of them. Now you have to counter 2 of them when I do a thing.
You don't need that.
Good luck.
We really don't need that.
Good luck. Counter me now. Counter me now.
I'm good. I'm okay, actually.
Abora is getting onto this battlefield, damn it.
No.
One way or the other.
Stop it.
I think this set's really cool. And the other one, oh crap, I'm going to forget the name of it. The green black dragon.
I'm
What
not
is his name?
remember
Witherbloom? I think it's Witherbloom.
Okay.
He's like 8 mana, and he gives all your creatures affinity to creatures. No, is it affinity? Yeah, I think it's affinity for creatures.
I saw you talking about this one with a B, right?
Yeah, because we were debating, like, is this good enough? I don't
Right.
think it is, only because no matter what we do with them, we don't have enough sorceries and instants, I think, to take full advantage of them. It just basically reduces, like, all of our green tutors to, like, 2 green mana. Because, like, it's good. I don't know it's good enough, though. You know what I mean?
That's fair. So
It's close,
probably
though.
not in TNT.
No, it's close. But I think you have to build... I've seen some people building him as, like, a commander because he does have an infinite combo with him. But I just don't know that he's good enough for TNT. I think Silver Quill 100% is. I just don't know that Witherbloom is. But
Yeah, I can see that.
I might pick one up just because he's a dragon and I like dragons. And, maybe if I do ever find a place for him somewhere, he'll be a good addition.
I feel like it's a build around card.
I
You
do
would
too.
need to change a
I do
lot about
too.
your list to get that in there.
I actually don't think I need to do a lot to my list because I already go so wide. Like we already most games I'd have affinity 6, right? Like all my spells would be reduced or all my instant sorceries would reduced by 6. The problem is, what does that really do for me?
Yeah, you already make so much mana. I
Yeah.
don't think the reduction really helps you. Like mana's not your issue to start with, but I don't know.
And he's already 8 mana himself too, which makes him like really hard to get into.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got affinity as well, so like ideally you reduce him pretty far down, but he's still I think 3 mana anyway. I'd have to look again.
You already have a lot of 3-drops, like 3 to 4 drops slots.
Right.
So
Yeah. So I think he's cool. I don't know that he's good enough,
that's fair.
but I'm excited for him because I think he's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool set. I think we're looking forward to it. I think the reprinting of the like Ancestral Recall cards, I forgot what they're called. We'll put them up on screen, but I don't think these cards are powerful enough. They're close. They're close. The Demonic Tutor one, I was like looking at, I was like, man, he's right there, but not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite. And the blue one being 5 mana, I think makes him just a no-go.
I like the meme where it has the Thras' Oracle with the demonic consultation in the corner.
Did you see the swords? They did the Swords of Plowshare one, but he's really bad.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's really bad. Because you can't even re-prepare him from what I saw.
Yeah.
Unless I misread his text, but it doesn't look like he can ever be re-prepared. So it's just, you get a Swords of Plowshare at any time, I guess. Which is like fine.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, it's kind of cool because it's like, I have it on a creature body. And now I can, as far as I can tell, you can still cast it at instant speed. So it's like, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think, from there, we can jump into the main topic unless you had anything else you wanted to add on that.
Also, the reprinting of Force of Will.
I didn't see that.
Beautiful.
Oh, shoot. That's cool. Hey, news to me. I didn't even know Force of Will was getting a reprint. How cool is it?
Pretty cool.
Is it cooler than the one I currently have?
I think so. In my opinion.
But I won.
My humble little
But
opinion.
I won mine.
You did. You did.
It has like a little special place in my heart. It's like one of my first cards I ever won in CEDH.
But Jordan, aesthetics.
Yeah, but special place.
You run enough decks, you can have the special place and the new one.
I like it the way you think. I like the way you think. All right. Speaking of additional decks, it's a great segue to jump into the top 10 decks in the format. All right, so for the bulk of our discussion today, we want to get into the top 10 decks. Now, a lot of other people make lists, and what we want to do is identify what we believe are the top 10 decks in the format. Lily and I made a list together, so we're not going to be debating the top 10. We're just going to kind of be discussing what these top 10 decks look like. And the reason we're doing this is so that you can kind of get an understanding of the main strategies in CEDH and what to think about when you're sitting against these decks at the table, because these are going to be, not only are they the best decks, they're also some of the most popular decks in the format. Each one of these decks, I think, ranks in the top 15 to 20 decks in the format. So these are ones you're going to commonly see. And these are the ones you can kind of focus on, because if you can get these ones down and understand what these decks are trying to do to you, then you just have to start to then expand your horizons a little bit with more niche decks. But I feel like this is where you get a really good grasp of the decks in the format. So with that, we're going to start with our number 10 deck in the format, and that is going to be Vial Thras. Lily, do you want to lead us off on this discussion?
Yeah, so this is a more proactive deck as it is being run today. So early Necrodoms, Necropotents, primarily wins through Underworld Breach lines. I see some people call it a Turbo Cabbage Merchant deck. So some pilots try to resolve Cabbage Merchant really early, accrue a lot of food through your opponents being greedy in the early game and dropping mana rocks and what have you, going into your turn with a bunch of mana and then doing the splashy ad nause necro plays. I've personally been turn 2'd by this deck, so definitely not gonna sleep on it. I think it's pretty solidly at the number 10 spot for me, like just in that top 10. Some really good pilots are out there, like, brewing on it and doing well at tournaments on it. So certainly not a deck to sleep on. I think where it gets people is the fact that they see Thrasios in the command zone and instantly think, oh, mid-range pile.
Yeah.
Oh, Thrasios. We're so safe. Thrasios, that's easily like a turn 4 deck before we have to worry about that. And then turn 2, they say Necropotence, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, shit, we didn't mulligan for this. Okay, and now we're dead."
It also is one of my favorite cards in the format in Culling Ritual, which is so devastating because you Culling Rit and then immediately gnaws off the mana off it, or run right into a Necro and then set up. Yeah, it's.
Oh yeah.
I do this in Terra, so I know like it's pretty brutal strategy that like really catches people. What do you think is the weakness of this deck then?
I don't think the mid-range plan is as solid as in most Thrasios decks. So I think if you let TNT to get to turn 4 or turn 5, y'all are probably cooked. I think if Thras Vial goes to turn 4 or 5, that's really not where they want to be. Right? And, talking to people, reading primers on it and stuff, they do have the pivot of Rhystic Study, Thrasios, Cabbage Merchant, etc. Anything that these 4-color piles have. But I think their strongest window is that turn 1 through 3, and 3 is probably pushing it, but like 1 through 3 reliably. You start getting into turn 4 and 5, the mid-range plan's just not there, and I think that's the biggest weakness.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with most turbo decks, right? Is that yes, they have a theoretical backup plan, but their backup plan is never going to reach the same level that a Blue Farm or a TNT or a Kinnan's mid-range plan is. Like, when it's a dedicated mid-range deck, it just powers out ahead of you over the long run. That's the entire point of the deck.
Exactly.
So, no, I agree. I think this deck is scary because of how fast it is. The Spirit Guides, having access to both of them, make your Necro lines way easier than traditionally, and having cards like Summoner's Pact. I think this is like one of the best Necro decks in the format.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Because of access to all of its tools. I do agree. I think whenever I've seen this deck get blown out early, like most turbo decks, it just struggles. I don't know that its mid-range plan is good enough to make up for that.
Yeah.
Like, is it better than Rockseye's mid-range plan? Sure, but...
I mean, the bare minimum.
Exactly.
I mean, they can cast Thrasios, they can start doing Thrasios flips, but they're not really designed to do that. So it's 4 mana per Thrasios flip, and that's where it's truly, the plotting Thrasios activations that people like to joke about.
Yeah, so the best way to play against this deck is understand that this is a turbo deck, right? Like, most, I won't say all, but most Thras Vial decks are turbo decks nowadays. And so as long as you understand that and you mulligan responsibly for it, like you would for a Rogsai or a Ral, then you shouldn't have any issues against this deck. I think it just really catches people off guard because they let it kind of do the thing and don't realize it. Like any other deck, though, or any other turbo deck, if you let it hang around and you're not paying attention to it, it can still sneak a win, right? Like, yes, its engines are never going to be as consistent as... as a true dedicated mid-range deck. And it's never going to reach the same highs that a mid-range deck can, but it still has its mid-range pieces. It can still do the thing if you let it, and so you just have to be really careful that you're never taking your eye off of this deck because it can explode on you. Any deck with Necronauts can always, immediately turn the corner on you. Breach is still a very powerful magic card, so you just have to be very careful when you're playing against this deck to blow it out early like you do any turbo deck, and then just like any other turbo deck, keep an eye on it the rest of the game. Make sure it's not crawling back slowly but surely. Because I do think its mid-range plan isn't great, but it is consistent. And it will consistently crawl back if the games go long enough.
I think that's all fair.
Yep. All right, so to number 9. So the number 9 deck on our list is Ral Monsoon Mage. What I think about this deck, I think it is probably the scariest turn 2 deck in the format. Because of how quickly, like, not just how quickly it gets there, because as Ral goes down turn 1, and sometimes even if it comes in turn 2, it immediately starts to win right on the spot. And unlike Rogsai, where if you counter certain pieces, the deck is dead in the water, I've watched Ral get like 2 or 3 of its pieces countered and still win in the same turn, just because it keeps going.
Yeah.
And as long as they can get to that 6 number, a lot of times that's all they need. And I've seen some ridiculous games where I watched Counter Magic fly, and it just didn't matter because Ralph still flipped on 6 anyway.
Yeah, I think that is one of the most scary things about this deck is the fact that it defies the traditional turbo strategy of folding to a well-timed Force of Will or Mind Break Trap. And it still can occasionally, but it's rarer.
Yeah.
And I think because it can slog through the interaction and just keep pushing, that is terrifying.
It does not have consistent pinch points.
Right.
Sometimes the pinch point is the cards. Sometimes the pinch point's the mana. And I've watched players really struggle with this, in particular because the pinch points do change from game to game. And so, like in one game, it's right to counter the J-Will. It's probably always right to counter the J-Will. Let's think of another example. Countering the Rite of Flame is the right play versus countering, the opera song card, right? Like,
right. But if they have, a Burgie or Ska or some way to already get mana, the Rite of Flame is not going to be your pinch point.
Yeah,
then it would be the flip, like Opera Love Song or what have you. Then it would be one of those.
Right. Whereas like Roxai's pinch points are almost always the same, right? You're either pinching them on their mana so they can't get into the Nas, or you're just hitting the Nas or Necro.
Right.
Right. Or, it's generally, their pinch points are very consistent, and I feel like RALs are ever shifting depending on the context of the game. And then if it does flip, you're really SOL'd.
Oh yeah,
I've seen it.
You're done for pretty much.
I've seen it whiff on the flip, but it is rare.
It's super
It
rare.
is rare. So really, this deck is a turbo deck, pure and simple. They are low on lands. They're lower on interaction generally. And they're trying to storm off and win as quickly as possible. And so the best way to handle this deck is to kill Ral. It's as simple as that. The problem with countering their spells is, like we've talked about, sometimes the counter magic just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So if you kill Ral and take it out of the game, and the more times you kill Ral, the harder and harder their game plan gets, because they don't make consistent mana. It's burst mana. It's always ritualing.
Right.
So because their mana is so bursty, it's really hard for them to continuously convert back into Ral if you kill it a bunch of times. Also, Lily and I found out silence.
You read my mind. I was gonna say, as Hayward found out, silence effects super effective.
Peach, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't run enough counter magic to handle consistent silences.
Oh yeah, and Ranger captains, they'll just have to push into it and let it get cracked and hope to try to go again on the go around.
Yeah, Ranger Captain is especially brutal for this deck because they can't win at instant speed. Like, that's another thing. Ral cannot win at instant speed, at least as far as I know. Maybe there are some that can, but most Rals that I've seen are really banking on being able to flip Ral, and because it's a Planeswalker, you can't activate Planeswalker abilities at instant speed. They kind of get SOL'd. The other kind of trick to Ral that I think a lot of players miss until they've played against it a bunch of times, don't let them wheel.
No, never.
Every time I've let a Ral wheel, I lost.
Yeah.
Every single time, without fail.
Yeah, I learned this the hard way as well. Certainly, I get greedy, right? I'm the Grixis player. I guess at that time I was the Blue Farm player. I think like, oh, wheel will be good for everybody. It'll be all right. I'll find a Mind Break Trap, surely. No.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it. Don't do it.
And again, even if you find the piece of interaction, unless it's a removal spell, and sometimes the removal spell is not even enough.
Yeah.
Especially if they've gotten the storm count high enough or they've already generated enough mana, then they just recast Ral and go anyway. Because that's the thing, people forget. Because Ral says for every spell cast this turn, even if Ral dies, as long as you recast it and then it can cast the spell and immediately get the flip, you still get everything that's been cast for that turn. Like, it doesn't go away just because Ral died.
Yep.
And that's how sometimes you can get multiple Ral casts in the same turn.
Yeah.
So
I think a good way to handle it also is just draw engines, and I think this is where the traditional counter draw engines can kind of go out the window, because if you for a couple of reasons. First, one counter spell often isn't enough to make it fold, so I think the whole table needs to be in agreement for the first at least 3 turns. Like, hey, we need to make the Ral sit down and stop playing, and then we can all we'll all deal with each other afterwards, and the fallout of all of us having 15 cards, and we'll figure that out after we survive past turn 2 and turn 3, right? So there's that aspect to it, and there's the fact that the Ral has to push on 2 or 3, so you are going to benefit from the draw engine. So as the player mulliganing for a strategy that game, a draw engine's probably a pretty safe bet.
I'd agree.
Generally, you can politic a draw engine into resolving, like, hey, turbo deck, please, please, please. Not always, as I found out this past weekend, but, generally, as a generalization, that's a pretty good way to get your engines out there.
Yeah. And It does make it harder. Like, a lot of them will still push into it anyway.
Exactly.
But it does make it harder, and it does set you up to take advantage if they don't get there. So, yeah, I agree. Scary deck, though, it's just going to go fast. You have to be ready for that. You cannot be greedy against this deck.
Yeah.
It is too consistent at getting there. And if you play greedy, you're just going to lose.
Yeah. And even when they go down to 4 or 5 cards in hand, a low mulligan doesn't mean anything. Don't get lulled into a sense of comfort of, oh, the RAL player mulligan low, I can be a little bit greedier this game. Don't do it.
Yep.
Just don't.
You'll
Don't try
lose.
your luck.
You'll lose every time. Promise. Ready to go to number 8? So our number 8 deck that we have here is Tymna Dargo. So, Lily, do you want to lead us off on the Tymna Dargo?
Yeah, so Tymna Dargo is a proactive Mardu deck, and if you have watched our previous episode kind of going through combos and, most common lines to see, we address some Tymna Dargo lines in there as well. So as we've talked about, they win through the Dargo loops, so limiting access to Dargo can be helpful through like Draenith Magistrate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Breach lines as well, obviously, as any Mardu pile will. So be prepared for the Underworld Breach. I would say because it is Mardu, because they don't have blue, they are going to be on the more proactive side of things, right? I've certainly seen Tymna Dargos kind of play out the Tymna plan and attack for a little bit, accrue value, and do what their version of mid-range, right? Their mid-range Mardu, but, a more proactive deck generally. One scary thing about this deck is that they can simply say Grand Abolisher, Voice of Victory, and if you aren't ready for that silence effect on a creature body, you will get got by this deck pretty quickly. So that's always something to be aware of. Once again, some really strong pilots out there piloting on this deck, doing really well on it. I know it pops up on the West Coast a lot. There are a lot of talented Tymna Dargo pilots on the West Coast. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty interesting deck as far as like non-blue decks go. I think if I were to give one a try personally, I'd probably try this one. So
I think this deck is really cool because it does run like some really unique strategies that you don't get to see. Sacrifice being like such a huge part of the Dargo build, and some of the cool cards you get to do. Like I've seen Sephiroth and Yawgmoth and some cool cards like that give you those sack outlets that do some really cool stuff. So it's definitely a cool deck. It goes faster. I think sometimes people see Tymna and they go, it's Tymna.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, this deck is blistering when it wants to be.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen it go very, very fast. And Dargo is sneaky easy to cast because people see the big 7. And if you're not used to how Dargo plays, that 7 it might as well as read 1 because Dargo is that easy to cast when it's set up.
And they run all the synergy cards where you sacrifice a creature and you draw X amount of cards equal to the CMC or the power, whatever, right?
Or even you have like the little goblin, right? Where you sack the goblin, he makes a treasure when he enters and then dies.
Yeah.
It's like little stuff like that.
Yeah. The unique synergies that exist in it are actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool deck. So how do you beat this deck? Graveyard Hate's really good.
Yes, for sure.
This deck really relies on sacrifice outlets, so taking out their sacrifice outlets is a big key to stopping this deck. Like Lily said, denying access to Dargo is huge. They're super vulnerable to silence effects. They can't stop one. They don't have a counter spells, so if you put a silence on the stack, they almost have no answer for it.
Yep.
And they're just kind of like, oh, well.
Yeah. I think this is a deck that relies on window theory pretty heavily. They have to gauge kind of what the blue players are doing. Are the blue players spent? Am I just going to get silenced on my upkeep? It takes a lot of strategy on their part. So as the person playing against the Tymna Dargo deck, just knowing, just kind of like what we said with Thras Vial, you can never fully go shields down because you will get got when they find that window.
Right. But it's very easy to stop because they are on their turn only. They have no flash speed wins that I know of.
Right.
I mean, maybe some of them are running E-Zone, but I highly doubt it.
I've seen some on E-Zone.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but it's not a card you're going to consistently hit on, probably.
Yeah.
So it's not a deck that you have to worry about getting flashed on all the time. And if they are going to do flash effects, it's something that's very heads up. So you just kind of know, like, they want to go to their turn, they want to slam the silence effects, they want to jam their Breach win or their Dargo win theirs. So I think taking them off of their commander, taking them off their sacrifice outlets, being able to silence them.
Yep.
It's not a deck that I feel like. I think if you counter the silence effect or the sacrifice effects, it does help slow it down because they do lose a lot of their either their mana, their card draw,
Right.
some of their stuff that they can do really well.
Right.
But from what I've seen, there's not really a good way to like stop this deck. You really just kind of speed bump it as much as you can.
Yeah, it's all about kind of buying yourself a turn against it. They do always have the Tymna plan, so there is always just that slow accruing
Right.
of value. You know, Esper Sentinel, Lotho, Tymna, just kind of sitting there accruing their value.
And Dargo's a 7/7 trampler. So if they
Exactly.
do cast him and they just say, well, screw it, I'm just going to start going to beats.
No, combat becomes super relevant, right?
Yeah, it's a dangerous deck. Don't sleep on this deck. It is faster than you think it might be, and it can close the game really quickly. It's got a lot more interaction than also I think people will give it credit for, because red-white actually has a lot. Like, you basically can run 4 or 5 instant speed silence effects.
Right.
Orange Chant, Silence, Revel and Silence. You're probably not running Calamity's Wake, but you could. No. I don't see why you ever
I don't
would.
think they would, no.
But so you've got 3 instant speed silence effects. You've got the REB, Pyro, Swords, all the black interaction that you might want to run. So like it has more instant speed stuff than I think people ever give it credit for.
For sure.
It's a scary deck. Definitely not one that I'd like to see at the table. So for our 7th deck, we have Sisay. And this deck is cool because of its inevitability factor. It goes, like, basically once you get all the pieces around Sisay set up, it just does the thing. Because its ability is instant speed also, it can basically find lines at instant speed and really get you if you're not paying attention. I struggle against this deck, or not. I struggle to see how this deck still does well because it's very heads up on the board. So like whenever I see it, I kind of know exactly what it's doing and how it wants to do it. And I don't know, other decks are not necessarily as heads up. Like TNT is a good example, right? You never really know which way TNT is going to go on you until the combo starts playing out. Like, I guess if you see a lot of creatures, you can assume a Boro is going to come out eventually, but not even always, right? This deck, though, has to have very specific pieces on the board to even get going. Or I guess if you have like a Smothering Tithe and you make a shitload of treasures, you can just get there on like 10 or 15.
Yeah.
But Sisay usually takes a few activations to really like get to the point where it's terrifying, which gives you time to set up generally. But then you just have to pay attention to the few creatures. So like Fabor Elder is one of its scary ones. Bloom Tender can be one of its scary ones. Anything that, like a meal is really scary. What's the green elf that combos off really easily in this deck? I can't remember. It's 3 mana. Savala?
Oh, yeah.
Savala,
Yeah, Savala.
is like another key piece for them. The best way I found to deal with Sisay is just not kill Sisay. It's kill everything around it, which I know it's easier said than done. But like if you just look at a primer for Sisay and look at the key cards in the list, you basically just take those out of the list. Every time they pop up, you just kill it. The problem with taking Sisay out is that most of these decks are running a lot of mana generators, and then they just recast Sisay and can immediately win on the spot. But if you take out the pieces that they need, most of those pieces do not have a way to start instant speed untapping, like unless they've got the Tyvar. And some decks don't even run Tyvar. So unless they have that, most of the time you can kind of catch them right off the bat. Where it's like, oh, I'm going to cast my Fabor Elder and I have to wait to go around. Or I'm going to cast my Savala and I'm going to have to wait for the go around. And you can kind of get them during that period. Generally, not always, right? Sometimes players have found ways to get around this with like Agatha, Soul Cauldron, and like I said, Tyvar. But there's usually some time to set up and like beat the Sisay player before they've gotten a chance to like really do their thing. It's a deck that you have to understand is inevitable. The longer you let it hang out, the more likely it's going to do the thing. It's also unique in the fact that it's a deck that gets stronger every year. Like most CEDH decks get stronger, right? As more cards get printed, decks get stronger. Like that should be obvious. But Sisay is unique in that legendaries are so important to this deck that the legendaries that get printed, the better those get, the better this deck gets. And legendaries are always going to get printed. You can't ever guarantee that like you're going to get a TNT card or a TNK card or a Rockside card. But you can guarantee you're going to get a bunch of really good legendaries every set. And they just get to kind of parse through and pick the best ones to see which ones fit for Sisay.
That's true. I think this is a deck where removal is really king, like a well-timed Orcish Bowmasters, that probably just ruins their day. smaller creatures that you don't think about in a lot of decks, like your Ragavan, your Lotho, those probably need to go. Take out their treasure generators if you can, and also happen to be legendary creatures. Another thing to keep in mind when you're playing against a Sisay player is they may not be on the traditional Planeswalker lines, Sisay. So the last couple that I played against, and I think the last time I've played against it personally was at the Tabernacle event, but they were just on 5-color turbo.
Oh, the chowder Sisay?
Yeah, so somebody hit the Sisay player with a Ragavan and they flipped over a Necrodom. And so instantly we were like, okay, got it. It's that kind of Sisay game. Right. So be aware that it can be 5-color turbo. I've seen that cropping up a little bit more. So
I'll be honest, I've never understood the chowder Sisays.
I haven't either.
When Necrodom got printed, it at least made it make a tiny bit more sense because Necrodom's a legendary that you can go fetch. But before that, I've never understood it. Like if I'm gonna run 5-color turbo, I just feel like there's better decks. Right. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I just never understood the Sisay chowder build.
I never did either, honestly. I think like Terra is good 5-color turbo.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like if I was going to do it, I'd run Nagila because then you have the red in the command zone, which gives you the flare, which is just like if I'm going to go 5-color, right? It's either that one. I'm trying to think if there's a better one right now. I don't know. I've just never understood the chowder build.
No, I mean,
I'm sure I'm missing something, but every time I play against Sisay chowder, I've never really struggled against the deck. Whereas
I think it's like
the legendary one is a little bit harder to play against.
I think it's like what we talked about in Thras Vial, though. People see Sisay, people think, oh, this is like a turn 5 deck. You know, they're gonna put all their dorks face up. It's gonna be a minute. We're safe, and then they go like, boom, Necro, and you're like, oh shit, we're losing. Okay.
So the strength of the deck is that you don't know that it's that style of deck.
I think so.
That's fair. If you play Chowder Sisay, is it more than just, hey, gotcha because you're thinking I'm going one way with Sisay and then I drop a Necro on you? Or is there like more to it? I know the Necrodom because I've read through that and like understood that you can fetch Necrodom, which is really cool. But is there more to that deck that we're missing? Because I've never understood Chowder, especially pre-Necrodom. Because I remember playing against a Chowder build in the Dockside era and I was like, I don't get this deck.
That's fair.
Like my Nagila deck was way faster. And if I'm going to turbo, I'm going to turbo.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's our 7th best deck. For number 6, we have TNT. This is probably the fair spot for it. I disagree. I think it should be number 1, but that's okay. No, I'm just kidding. It's definitely not number 1. TNT is my baby. I love this deck. Number 6, I think, is fair for it because the deck is really good at a lot of things and not great at anything. And that's the problem with TNT. You know, it's across the board. It's a decent deck. Like it's got everything. It's got cards on the command zone. It's got infinite win combos. The commanders are relatively cheap and efficient. The deck has, I think, a couple of glaring weaknesses. One, it doesn't have breach.
Main weakness needs red.
No, it's just breach is so gross and busted that anything that doesn't have breach just feels bad by comparison.
Fair enough.
Like, even though the win lines in TNT are still very efficient, it's still very good at what it does, it just feels bad not having breach. Like, if it had breach, this deck would be ungodly insane. So where this deck really shines is it does have the creature combos, which are harder to interact with, in theory. A Boro especially can be really tough because all you have to do is drop it, and then it's easy to go on top of other people as long as you have a mana standing up. And that's where TNT really shines, is it does make a ton of mana. It has the Floor of Tymna, which is always great. Thrasios is an amazing draw engine in the command zone. The deck is all around really powerful, but it does have a couple weaknesses. It is slower to get started, especially if you compare it to other Thrasios builds. It's probably the slowest of the Thrasios decks, and that it takes just a little bit extra steps to get there. But it does make up for that by being a little bit more consistent with its game plan. And it does have more, in my opinion, it is a little bit more flexible and pivotable out of bad spots. I've watched Dogthras get completely shut out by a Curse Totem. I've watched Rogthras do the same. TNT never really has that issue because worst comes to worst, we go to Tymna and we start drawing cards a different way. So that's always the cool part. And because we have black, we can always go find our Mystic Studies, our Smothering Tithes a lot easier than a deck like Dogthras or Rogthras. So this deck, I think, is really strong. It's proving with good results. There isn't like a good. The other kind of issue with TNT, right, is that there is no one build for it. Oops.
Silence.
Silence is golden.
Why do we need our sounds on?
I had it on for my alarm. Ready?
Yeah.
So one of TNT's big weaknesses is that there is no one build for it, which I guess can be seen as both a boon and a weakness. So like for TNK, right? It's TNK. Like Blue Farm has basically the same deck and like 95 cards are the same. And then there's like small packages you can change, but for the most part, it's 95 of the same cards. TNT is not. Every TNT list you see will be like 30 cards different. You know, if you look at my Tree Farm build, it's very different than like Max P's No Bad Cards list. Or if you look at like Alan's Heartwood Storyteller Razakith build, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but there's a guy this weekend that was playing Omniscient Show and Tell in his TNT. There's a lot of TNT lists that are kind of rolling around out there in the nether, so there's not like one true, really like, this is the build. There's just a bunch of like, it's kind of just based on your opinion on which one you feel better on. Because they're all decent, I think. I don't think any of them are like bad.
Yeah.
Maybe Omniscient Show and Tell. That one seems like it should be clunky, but maybe I'm wrong. But the rest of them are pretty solid. But that's, again, it's a jack of all trades deck, which lends it to being slower, not as specialized as other decks, and it can get got because of that.
I'd say that's pretty fair. I mean, the strategy that I've kind of been using against all Cradle decks lately is just winning before they get online, and I found that to be pretty effective. It isn't always possible, depending on the deck you run, mulligans, etc., but I find it, because TNT is still in the setup phase for the first probably 2, maybe 3 turns, it's very easy to just get under them and hope they don't have the interaction. If you're playing against Jordan, he's going to have the interaction.
I always got it.
He always has it, but...
I'm all for it.
Yes, I believe that. But, I mean, I think that's the strategy that I found. I think a lot of decks struggle to outvalue TNT after it gets beyond turn 4, turn 5. I do feel it has an inevitability factor, almost like what we mentioned with Sisay. Like, if you let TNT hang out into the late game, they're just going to start pushing wins.
Yeah. The best way to handle TNT, in my opinion, is depending on which way they're going with it, right? If you're playing against like generic value TNT, you just kind of break their engines. You know, take out their Ristics, their Smothering Tides, so let these kind of things land. If they're playing, I think Smothering Tides especially is key because every deck kind of needs it to like kind of do the thing. So I think that's like one way to do it. If you're playing against my Cradle Farm specifically, the best thing you can do is take out my reducers. Biofam and Training Grounds are really key to the deck. They just make everything so easy. Obviously, if you can take out Cradle too, but it's harder to do that. If you're playing against like the No Bad Cards TNT, again, it's really more engine reliant. It's wanting to do the Smothering Tide thing a lot or Ristic Study thing, and it's kind of following that like Rog Ishai, Kinnan NBC vibe. So, you know, taking out its draw engines or its powerful enchantment engines kind of drives the deck into the dirt. For Alan's like Heartwood Storyteller, it's kind of the same thing. He really wants to break parity on Heartwood Storyteller. So if you, again, take out the Smothering Tide, take out the Fairy Mastermind, he ends up being in the same boat as everybody else, which is everyone's drawing a ton of cards, and I have no way to break parity on it.
Also, Orcish Bowmasters and Mayhem Devil. Cannot emphasize these enough.
Yeah, we cannot run the same amount of clones as a Rock Thras or a Dark Thras because of how good 4-color is. So we have to make cuts somewhere, and that usually means clones get cut. So we are running less clones than the traditional deck. We still have a few. We have Flash Photography. We've got Mockingbird. Some people are on a couple others, but like for the most part, Bowmasters really fucking sucks. Mayhem Devil's way worse though because you can't really even clone and deal with a Mayhem Devil. You just get killed.
Yes.
You're going to lose a bunch of pieces before, especially if people are smart. I've seen it where they'll crack 2, and that way you'll get 2 pings on their Mayhem Devil, and then you'll never get another one because they will be patient. They'll just keep killing stuff off 2 at a time. It's very annoying. Yeah. It's very annoying.
Cannot recommend Mayhem Devil enough.
So, those 2 cards tear us apart. A good, well-timed board wipe also. I've seen just nuke Thrasios into the ground, but no one runs Toxic Delusion anymore, so.
Maybe they should.
Maybe. Problem is that Toxic Deluge feels great against the Thrasios deck and awful against anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing T&K, cool. Board
Yeah.
wipe me, I don't care. I've got a Ristic Study.
That's true.
Oh, I'm Rog Ishai. Yeah, cool. Board wipe me. I've got 3 of
I
them.
have 3 of them.
Or I'm Roxai. I already won the game before Deluge even mattered. You know?
I mean, I think that's partly why people cut removal, right?
Well, that's why people cut board wipes, because they feel really good against creature decks and really bad against T&K. And so when T&K and Roxai were running the format a little bit more.
That's fair.
Now, that being said, because of the amount of creature decks, I wonder if they'll start coming back.
I think they probably will.
I mean, Firestorm is already kind of seeing a lot of play, but Firestorm can be a win con too, which is why it's like, okay.
Yeah. It can also just nuke the Thrasios boards, the Kinnan boards.
Yeah.
I appreciate it for that.
Yeah. But yeah, TNT, it's interesting. I think it's interesting because of how differing it is. But again, the Jack of all trades does hold it back just a little bit when comparing it to the top 5 decks.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. Speaking of, let's get to number 5. All right, so number 5, we have Rog Ishai. Lily, why is this deck number 5?
So this deck has become really prominent lately. I think if we made this video a month ago, probably, month and a half ago, we're probably not talking about it, but this deck has seen a lot of play recently. It is terrifying for its ability to find engines, get engines online, sit there and accrue value, and then win through the more proactive Underworld Breach lines. I personally talked about in one of the other episodes playing against a Rog Ishai at the Boil with 3 heuristic studies, and there is no way we were getting through that. They also clone cards like Smothering Tithe, so they have overwhelming mana advantage. Their interaction is basically always online. They also have Rograk in the command zone, which is really powerful. It gives you access to Mox Amber instantly. All of your free interaction like D-SWAT and Fierce is online. Also Flare of Duplication. So Rograk is a really powerful tool to have in the command zone. You also have Ishai, which I think some people disagree on whether or not you should cast the bird, but when it has come down, I always see it get up to 10, 15 counters. So it does just start murdering people if it does get out. And you are able to get to your turn and go to combat, so it can kind of attack the format through the combat damage access. It has all of its very powerful draw engines, and it has one of the best combos in the game in Underworld Breach. So I think there's a lot going right for this deck, and there's certainly a lot to fear about it. They also run a little bit more of a heavier interaction package. Some people run their, like, quote-unquote control variant of it, so you can get to turn 3, turn 4, where those engines become more valuable.
Yeah, this deck is interesting to me because I've seen... Okay, so like when I've played against this deck, and I've played against it a bunch now, every game it has done absolutely jack shit. It just hasn't done anything. Like, they've sat there.
Yeah.
But then I have to look at like Zach, who's killing people on this deck. And so I wonder if this is just another very skill-intensive deck, or if there's something that players are missing about it when they pick it up. Because I believe Zach is one of the builders of it with Jace. So I get really confused on watching his results and then playing against other players playing the deck. Because, again, I played against it like 3 times at the Boil 3, and every time it didn't do anything. I played against it this past weekend, and the player that had it didn't... He copied my Smothering Tithe. And then
sat there.
He had 50 treasures as I was
couldn't
winning.
do anything about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had the mana half. He didn't have a draw engine.
Well,
so it was all the mana in the world and none of the interaction.
Well, that was the thing, right? Every turn he was passing, he would have like 16 treasures pass and get more treasures. So I don't know what was in his hand.
That's crazy.
It clearly wasn't an interaction because I won.
Yeah.
I hit him with a Veil Summer, no response. And I was like, oh, okay, well, GG's. You know, and it's weird. I don't know what that deck is doing without a draw engine, and I don't know that you're in the colors to consistently get there. So
I have heard pilots say you have to mulligan to Oblivion. You will frequently be going to 5.
That makes sense. Like,
4.
you have to find the Mystic Study, right?
Right,
Or
because
the tutor for it.
Your commanders only do so much, right? It's not the Tymna floor where, oh, well, if I mulligan to Oblivion, I at least have Tymna. Like, you know, the blue farm players get to say. You really need to mulligan for a hand that takes game actions and gets advantage because you can't rely on that in the command zone.
Yeah, I haven't been impressed with the deck when I've seen it, but the numbers say that this deck is terrifyingly consistent. So maybe I just haven't run into a pilot that's like been able to fully take advantage of how strong it is.
Right.
Like I'm sure if I played Zach, I'd be like, oh my god, I hate this deck. I hate this experience so much.
There's probably people in his meta that are like, no, you're wrong. This deck is terrifying.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Firestorm is a pretty awesome card, and I think they're the ones that kind of started playing it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I get like just thinking about Firestorm, I'm like, God, I just get fucking cooked. Like, here goes my Brewmaster, and they're like, all right, discard 4 cards, get fucked, and I'm like, yeah, well, there goes all my dorks.
It can still be countered. It's not split second Firestorm.
Thank God.
Although that would be hot.
Split second's an annoying mechanic. Someone who got trick binded a bunch last week. Thankfully, no trick binds this time. No trick binds this past weekend.
Everybody, start taking trick bind for Jordan. Please, please, please. If you play this man, trick bind this man. Hit his Thrasios, it'll go well for you, I promise.
I'll start running Rest in Peace just for you.
That's crazy.
Just for you. Get fucked, Breach. You know what? I'll run Curse Totem just for Glinthorn. I'll take myself out.
That's wild.
I'm gonna Swift Recon your Glinthorn again.
You've never done that.
Yes, I have.
You haven't. Chris has.
With my deck. After I told him
Okay. But Chris did it, not you.
Oh,
it
okay.
doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
You weren't in that pot. It doesn't count.
Okay. I was just sitting outside telling him to do it. I was like, do that.
You were in the director's chair.
Sure. Anyway, yeah, this deck, I think the best way to handle it is kind of the same advice for the no bad cards TNT. You really want to be careful about how you deploy your enchantments. Mm-hmm. And honestly, there should be a pregame conversation of how about not? Like, let's just not play Ristic or Smothering Tithe. And I've watched games happen where people agreed to this. Mm-hmm. Like, I talked to it, like, hey guys, we probably shouldn't cast our draw engines this game and we should find alternate draw engines. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, yeah, probably. And then the dude kept a handful of copy enchantment effects while none of us played any enchantments. It's hilarious. Pretty funny. And so I think that is one of those decks where it's like you take out the enchantments at the table and the deck just does really struggle. You take out the early Ristic or Smothering Tithe and then you just kind of hope that they can't find anything from there. Mm-hmm. I do, again, after playing against this deck, I found that seems to be the crux is the Ristic study. Like, the guy had a Smothering Tithe with 50 treasures and couldn't do anything with it. So either it was just like a uniquely bad situation and I'm taking too much away from that, or the Ristic study drawing part is the more important aspect.
Yeah, I do think this is definitely a deck where we go back to the logic of justifying countering the draw engine. Don't let the first one land. No, nobody else plays theirs, or if somebody else does decide to get greedy and play theirs, counter the copy effects that come out to the extent that you can, right? And just don't let them get online, and you'll probably be okay.
Because that is their win con.
Yes.
Ristic study is their win con. Whether anyone believes that or not, like that's the truth. If they drop Ristics, you're losing. 100%. I mean, they have too much interaction.
It's their slow burning Adnaz, right? Like if you would counter an Adnaz that would win on the spot, that's just their slow burn Adnaz. It's essentially the same thing. It's their way to get through their deck to win the game with Breach.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of people forget. It's still Underworld Breach deck at the end of the day. You know, people justify letting the draw engines online because, oh, well, you know, maybe they'll interact. Oh, Ristic Study isn't that scary. I want to counter the thing that actually wins the game. But then when they do drop the Breach and they have 5 pieces of backup for the Breach, you can't counter the thing that wins the game.
True.
So
true.
Yeah.
3 Ristic Studies is hard to play into.
Definitely a problem.
Yep. All right, so number 5? No, that was 5. Number 4. All right, so number 4, we have Rogsai. Not super surprising. The Rog decks are going to be up the top of this chart. They're kind of dominating right now. But Lily, Rogsai.
Yeah, so Rogsai's strengths really lie in turns 1, 2, and occasionally 3. This is a deck that really thrives in the early game, and all Rogsai players mulligan for proactive plays in those first couple of turns. So they're really trying to drop that turn 2 Necro on you, And depending on their mana setup, they're going to rip it for 30, whatever, 35, and you're losing on the spot. If they don't really have the mana setup or the Necro is awkward, they rip it for 7 to 10, go into turn 3 with a fully sculpted 7, rip for the rest of their life, and just try to win, right? So that's a very common play pattern you see on Rogsai. They are Grixis, so they still have access to Underworld Breach and Thassa's Oracle, and basically almost every tutor in the game to get there. So, they're on Beseech, Demonic Council, just a high density of tutors to get to their splashy pieces to win the game. They're often lower on interaction. I'd say they probably run a little bit more than Ral. They're slightly more interactive than Ral, but not.
I feel like most rock size actually run a lot of interaction. Like they're all forced negation, but for the most part, they're running the rest.
I think it depends on the build, and that's why it says slightly more interactive, and they're probably just going to use it in defending their win attempts. They're still not table friend in the sense that they want to sit there and play police. That's never going to be Rog size MO. So you really have to be prepared for the early push. Unlike Ral and other turbo decks that we have discussed, this deck does fold to a well-timed Force of Will or a well-timed Mindbreak Trap, because what they have in speed, they lack in the ability to protect that. So if you are able to just blow out the Rogsai player, counter their tutor, don't let them go get the Necropotents. Sometimes they just sit there, and they do have the pivot of, well, I can just find Heuristic Study, I can sit in the game, but then as the game goes longer, their window begins to close. Their life total gets pressured, everybody hits them because they're the Rogsai player, they're the boogeyman at the table, and it becomes significantly harder for them to win beyond turn 3.
Yeah. The deck is terrifying because of its speed. And its win cons are very consistent at getting there. Because of the Nas, the Necro. It's just like, it's so well set up to do these things. And a really good Rogside pilots are very good at finding their windows and just gunning for them really quickly. Where this deck, in my opinion, struggles is I do think hitting the first spell almost always seems to take them out of the game, whether it's the Necro or the Nas. I've even hit like a J-Will and just watch them fold. Yeah. So it does feel like this deck is very glass cannon, where it's like, we're going to go quick, we're going to hit hard, but if we get touched at all, we're just kind of out. I think this deck was better in the Dockside era, where it had more pivot points off of things going wrong because of how powerful Dockside was. And now it just kind of feels like, okay, like it's, once it gets stopped, it's just kind of there. So I don't know. This deck has always been interesting to me. It's a deck that I felt like I really struggled against in the Dockside era, and feel like it's lost a lot of what made it terrifying. Like, I feel like Rao is significantly more terrifying in some ways.
Oh, for sure.
But the numbers show that this deck is still the best in class for the turbo decks. Yeah. So I wonder if a lot of that's holdover from, the past era, or if it's just that Grixis is so damn consistent.
I think there's still a lot of good Rogsai pilots out there that will consistently make the top 16. So when we do our top 16, or, our little meta breakdowns, we always joke like, oh, there's always one. There's the one Rogsai, right? But generally it's the more consistent Rogsai pilots. And I found that the patient Rogsai pilots are some of the most terrifying, because if you assume that the Rogsai pilot is going to say, all right, we've made it to turn 2, I have a Necro, we're just jamming, regardless of if somebody is developed an early study, or regardless of what has gone on the board state. It's turn 2, I have Necro, I jam. But the most terrifying pilots just wait. They'll wait. Sometimes they'll tutor Born Upon a Wind. They'll sit there. They'll watch the board state develop. And then once there is the tiniest opening where the other players with interaction seem vulnerable, then they gun for it. And that's some really solid Rogsai piloting.
Our teammate Eric is really good at this. Like, he's probably the most terrifying Rogsai pilot I've ever played against. And the one that does routinely cook me. Yeah.
The first game I played with him in Monolith practice, he cooked the shit out of me because he did exactly that. He was boogeyman at the table. He didn't see turn 2 and just say, oh, jam. He sat there. He waited. He let other players fight amongst each other. I think I was the problem at a point, and then he just won.
I've also seen some really funny play patterns of like, drop the D grid pass. Or it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that works, especially if you're dropping it like turn 1.
It's turn 1. What are they going to do about
Turn
it?
2 jam necro, turn 3 win.
Yeah.
Like that's a funny play pattern, and one I've seen that's getting more common among Rockside pilots. Mm-hmm. It makes sense, right? Like you're just taking all the interaction offline, and most people aren't going to have any way to do anything about anything until it's too late. Mm-hmm. Like even if I hold up mana, I'm not probably holding up enough to beat a defense grid early. No. So it's definitely a scary deck. I think it's still very good at what it wants to do. Mm-hmm. I just find that maybe it's lost a little bit of its consistency.
That's valid.
And that if you are, again, it's just like any other turbo deck. As long as you're not greedy and your pod's not greedy,
right,
it is beatable. Hopefully there's not 3 of them because then it gets a little bit dubious. But I do think other turbo decks have started to I think other turbo decks are harder to interact with sometimes, mm-hmm. but they're just not as consistent. Mm-hmm. Like that's like you just don't see them as consistently. Rockside is like the turbo deck that you will always see at every event. There's always going to be a bunch of them.
That's fair, and I do feel like losing Mana Crypt and Dockside really hurt it. Like you mentioned Dockside, but the Crypt too was also big, especially off of Adnauses. It made Adnause feel so much better. Now, if your mana base isn't set up, it's a bit more difficult to convert post-Nause.
I always forget Crypt was like such an important card to the Necro strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still think it's good. I just wonder if it's going to get surpassed at some point by other turbo decks.
I can see it.
Yeah. But ROG is too good. ROG too good.
Yeah. I mean, insert everything I said about ROG Ishai, apply to ROG Sai. Free interaction, and then you add the rituals, right? You get the culling the weak and diabolic intent, and ROG is just fodder for that, which also makes the deck more consistent.
Yeah, ROG is so powerful here, mm-hmm. especially with all the really strong black and red cards that you get to run. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, good deck, strong deck. But hopefully those tips help. So to number 3. So our number 3 deck is the deck we hate the most. It is yo boy Kinnan. This probably was number 2 for a long time, but I think it's recently been surpassed. We'll see how long that lasts. Always comes back to Kinnan.
It does.
I hate Kinnan. I just, ugh. Sorry, Kinnan pilots. I know we dunk on you a lot on this channel, and we're going to continue to.
We took a break last week. They've had a mild reprieve. Now we're back to it in full force.
And honestly, I probably wouldn't have dunked on it, except I got fucking triple Ristic studied this past weekend. In the win and in game, mm-hmm. not for me. I was well locked, but like, I didn't even think we were playing Astral Dragon anymore. What the fuck?
No, and it's like you said before, and we've talked about this. You've talked about your theory. Every time there's a Kinnan in the pod just draws. And
unless they have triple Ristic, because I didn't draw worth a damn.
And in my round 5, I needed to win that game so bad, and then our homie Raven comes out swinging with a fucking Ristic study. And then, the Thras pilot had a fucking Ristic study. And then the Essica player had a Ristic study. And you know what we did? We drew.
Yeah. It's the Kinnan effect.
It was the Kinnan effect.
Because they also yap. That's the thing. So let's take a step back. Kinnan is very powerful. Probably the most powerful commander in the entire game. Mm-hmm. From a pure commander ability standpoint. Mm-hmm. For 2 mana, a green and a blue, you basically get to double all your other mana sources, right? All your rocks, all your dorks, doubled. Mm-hmm. Kind of. It's like pseudo doubled because like it's actually just +1 because like on a Soul Ring it doesn't double.
Right.
But honestly, outside of like Soul Ring, Grim, and Basalt, which I mean Basalt's key, but for the most part, you're generating an extra mana off of all your guys, which is just doubling them all, and and then combine that with something like Enduring Vitality, the deck gets really stupid really fast on how much mana. I mean, consistent 7 to 10 mana by turn 3 is not like that's like standard. That is the bog standard Kinnan experience.
Yep.
And I think that's extremely frustrating for players to play against because it just feels like there's nothing you can counter or do except kill Kinnan over and over again. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's been my strategy lately is I just kill Kinnan.
Yeah.
I will kill and counter that motherfucker, and I treat Kinnan like a turbo deck now. I'm here to kill Kinnan and do everything I can to slow that deck down. Because if I just let Kinnan hang out and do the thing, it's just going to kill me. Mm-hmm. And you'll hear Kinnan players, and this is where I think I also get really annoyed as Kinnan players be like, no, I need my 10 mana. And I'm like,
For what?
Get the fuck out of here.
You will live on 5 mana like the rest of us, and you will like it.
Yeah. Honestly, that's why I dunk on Kinnan players so much is the whining from a Kinnan player. I'll be honest. Don't get me wrong. I've had to do it too, right? Because like when I played Kinnan, and then people are like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna swords Kinnan." I'm like, "Whoa, let's talk, right? I need my 10 mana." And then they're like, "No," and I'm like, "But please."
And you're like, oh, average Kinnan experience.
Yeah, I'm living it right here. But you know, that's the kind of the crux of the deck does revolve around Kinnan, and getting rid of Kinnan as often as you can, and setting them back at each and every turn. You're kind of trying to time walk them, right? Because each turn they basically are going to have to rebuild their mana base, and they're going to slow what they can do every turn. But the deck is blisteringly fast. I think faster than most people expect. It can easily convert to turn 2 and 3 wins if it draws the right cards. I've seen plenty of Kinnan players rip the Natty Basalt turn 2 and have the rest of the setup.
Yep.
Also, I've seen it, you know, more consistently. I see it turn 3, but it's just a deck that converts really, really fast if it wants to, but also is very comfortable playing the long game and can mostly outgrind most decks. And I'll be honest, this is a deck that I've really struggled against. It's probably the deck that I lose to more than any other deck in the format because I just can't figure out where its crux is other than kill Kinnan.
Yeah.
Because it makes too much mana to do much about. It has powerful creatures that come onto the board that are hard to deal with, depending on the build, right? Like Wandering Archaic or, I mean, freaking Astral Dragon, right? Like I was like, really, bro? Like we're flipping into an Astral Dragon and then getting 2 more Ristic Studies was like, you know, that was nuts.
Right.
And, you know, it happened just like that. And I didn't have any removal to deal with the 2 Astral Dragons.
Right.
And so it just accumulates too much value to keep up with. And that's the thing, right? The deck just, it's very easy for it to do that. And you just feel like it's a deck, if you give it an inch, it just tears you apart. And it's easily the best mid-range deck in the format most of the time.
That's another thing I was going to say. It is so consistent. So we just had the Rog Ishai discussion where, you know, sometimes they just sit there, or the Rog Sai discussion where sometimes they are forced to sit there. I don't think in my, 200 plus tournament games and easily more practice games than that, I don't think I've ever seen the Kinnan player just sit there.
Oh, I have.
I don't think I have. Now they have feigned, oh, I'm so out of the game. And then, you know, it's like Hullbreaker Horror or Kinnan Basalt, right? Like, they've said they're out of the game. I don't think I've seen a Kinnan player actually sit there and just do nothing.
Oh, I have a bunch of times. Actually, I just saw it this past weekend. Raven sat there in the top 16 game and did jack shit.
See, and that was the complete opposite experience I had with them in our round 5 game. I was like, stop having actions, bud. Stop doing this.
Well, I think sometimes when the deck mulls low, because it does happen, right, where they don't hit any of their mana somehow. I don't know how, because that deck runs like 30 bazillion mana, but like sometimes they don't hit it. Or I've seen it to where they hit like 1 or 2 pieces.
Right.
And then like I watched somebody mental misstep a birds from McKinnon. And the player was like, he's like, can you not? And the dude's like, no, that's gone. And he's like, and I think he didn't have, that's right. He had no other mana sources in his hand.
Oh, no.
Or maybe he had a rock that he was going to start playing out and then, you know, play Kinnan and then do, like, he was going to be a little bit slower getting there. But it was still going to do the thing.
He needed the bird. That's
he needed
the
bird. And he never drew another land. And so he was on 1 land the entire game, which was funny.
That sucks.
It was really funny.
But I don't know what Kinnan games you're playing. I never see that. They're always online.
Okay, I don't want to hear it. I got turn 2'd by Hullbreaker Horror loop.
Yeah, I know.
That's my normal
I'm making
Kinnan
your
stuff.
point. Yeah, I'm making your point.
No,
right?
I'm just saying, you're not going to complain and be like, oh, you get all the good Kinnan games. No. I got triple Ristic Studied.
No, I
got Hullbreaker Horror.
We've been equally fucked by Kinnan. I'm not saying you've had the easy Kinnan experience. I'm just saying more often than not, they are online and outvaluing me by turn 2 or turn 3, which is insane work.
That's my
and
normal.
Consistently as well. Consistently doing that.
That's
and
my
I think
normal Kinnan experience as well.
that's what it is for me. It's the consistency with which the deck does the thing that frustrates me.
So there are ways to beat this deck, right? It's not like we've never won against this deck. I have found, like I said, killing Kinnan is very effective. It depends on how you're killing it. Bowmaster doesn't work. Like, it works for a time, but the deck runs too many clones to consistently do it.
Yeah.
And the worst thing ever is when it gets imposter mech'd and then there's an imposter mech to Bowmaster.
Yeah.
It's very annoying. A lot of times you can outspeed this deck, right? Depending on the hands they keep, they can be a little bit greedier. I've watched people with like sitting on like a commandeer and then seeing creature combo get ripped in their face, and they're just like, well, shit, you know.
Yeah.
Or hilariously, I watched somebody kill themselves with an Adnos that they commandeered. That was funny.
That's wild.
They hit like 4 big flips in a row, and then they're like, I think I'm gonna flip one more time, and then they hit some other big flip, and they're like, oh, well, I guess I'm dead. Yeah, 5 in a row. It's really funny.
Nice.
This deck though. This deck is a very skill-intensive deck, I feel like, because of the politicking that's required to get Kinnan to stick and consistently stick. And I feel like if you do work together as a table to constantly kill the Kinnan, it does time walk them a lot over and over and over again. I don't know what it is. It's also a deck that feels like it's harder to close. Like if they don't hit the Basalt early or the Hullbreaker Horror loops early, then it does seem like the longer the game goes, the less and less they have to like rip a win.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I've seen as games go longer, it seems like they're trying to find it. Like they'll have massive value, they'll be outvaluing the table, and I still won't have found the win yet.
Yeah.
And I've been able to beat Kinnan's because TNT finds the win a little bit faster.
I do feel like that is one of the downfalls of Simic, and where they can lack is they don't have the density of tutors.
Yeah.
So, and depending on the variant, right? I know a lot of the no bad cards Kinnan lists have kind of cut some of the tutors for Basalt in order to shove in more copy effects. So once again, it's like the Rog Ishai logic. If you're playing against an NBC Kinnan, everybody agrees not to be greedy with their enchantments. Yep. They have less tutors for Basalt. You can make the Kinnan player just sit there.
That's true, yeah. I mean, playing Smothering Tithe into a Kinnan is a fool's errand.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
I've tried it so many times. The only time I do it is like in an emergency when I feel like I have no other choice. But it's always bad because the second they copy it, they just do better with it than we do.
Yeah, no, that's never gonna end well.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's funny what happens, but it's so bad for you. I have gotten a copy of Kinnan and then Smothering Tithe. And I mean that's something that TNT can run naturally anyway, is like Kinnan Smothering Tithe thing. And I've done it before. It's always fun when it happens. It feels like it's really hard to land consistently. But yeah, strong deck, really powerful deck. You just have to kind of treat it like a turbo deck and hit the Kinnan over and over again. Your goal is to slow this deck down. You're never going to truly stop it, but you want to slow them down and tempo them out so that they are forced to constantly spend every turn rebuilding rather than being able to go to their turn and just keep vomiting out mana and then start flipping into big creatures that you can't do anything about. Or on the decks that don't really want to spin Kinnan, they're just going to keep dropping more copy effects and other scary creatures. And then you're just kind of sitting there watching them accumulate a ton of value while you don't get to do much. So, yeah. Hard to play against deck. Probably the hardest deck in the format to play against, in my personal opinion. But because its numbers are really bad for how good it is, you'll tell the difference between someone who really knows how to play Kinnan and who doesn't. Because the players who really know how to play Kinnan are disgustingly good and very, very frustrating to play against. And the players that are still trying to figure the deck out will make a lot of errors that you can take advantage of.
That is why I'm surprised that this deck often gets recommended as a newbie-friendly CEDH deck.
Oh yeah, no, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I think what is it? The ceiling is too high, or the floor.
The skill floor.
The skill floor, right? That new players just don't have the certain set of skills yet, right? Like a new player isn't gonna know how to yap effectively out of getting their Kinnan killed. They're gonna resort to the "Why are you killing my Kinnan? Don't do that," and the more emotional arguments instead of politicking, just kind of from their board state.
Have you ever seen a new player try to explain a Mirage Mirror combo? They'll be like, "Yeah, I'm going to do the thing." Like, explain it.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand how this deck gets recommended to new players, right? Yeah. Like, on its face, I understand it. You shit out mana, you interact with people, you try to win the game, but it is a whole lot more nuanced than that.
Yeah, I agree. But still really powerful.
Yeah.
All right, so for number 2, our number 2 deck, we have Rog Thras. And again, I think you could flip-flop these in Kinnan very easily. But I think Rog Thras right now is having its moment in the sun, which is funny because I thought Rog Thras was actually kind of starting to fall off. But it's had some really strong showings lately. Most notably, of course, our teammate Zeke winning the Boil 3 with it. This deck is, again, very similar to Kinnan in that it's going to make a ton of mana. It abuses Guy's Cradle to do it, though. Instead, generally, that's like its forward plan. It can also do it through like Earthcraft lines and through just like some normal Enduring Vitality stuff. But I've always found the Earthcraft lines and the Gaia's Cradle are like its easily two most powerful aspects. And really, this deck is just making tons of mana and then wants to spin Thrasios as often as it can, generally with a Biofam or a Training Grounds or multiple, so that it can get 1 mana Thrasios activations. And then from there, find combos to win, generally with a Boro or Breach. The deck is very quick because of Rog. Again, kind of like the Rogsai and Rog Ishai thing. Rog provides you a really good mana boost, and it lets the deck turn on very quickly. Also, because Rog is a creature, Cradle is online from turn 1, which is very unique among Cradle decks. It's actually the only Cradle deck where you can play Cradle turn 1. Usually. Though I have seen, hilariously, the Vexing Bauble come down ahead of them, and they only kept Cradle as their land.
Yeah.
That's actually been hilarious to watch.
That's funny.
Because now they can't cast the Rog, and now they're just like, uh-oh. But, like, generally, the deck is extremely quick at putting together very proactive wins. It's not as fast as, like, a Rog Sai. And it's not trying to drag the game along like Rog Ishai. It's really kind of in this in-between area for a Rog deck. But it does outvalue you very quickly. The reason we have it ahead of Kinnan is the numbers on it. For one, this deck is a deck that people seem to do better on, just in general. The deck is also, I think, slightly more resilient, right? There isn't like one creature you kill over and over again. Like, yeah, you can kill Rog, sure. You can hit the Thrasios, whatever. But they'll just recast them. They're cheap. It doesn't matter. And you're not going to have the interaction consistent enough. The problem is the deck doesn't look scary enough most of the time to take those creatures out. Like, do I want to waste the swords on a Thrasios? Probably not, unless the
Unless
Thrasios
they're
is
winning, right? No.
Right. The pinch points are more around their big mana generators. So if you can take out the Enduring Vitality, if you can counter the Earthcraft, if you can take out the
Don't let them get reducers as well.
Yeah, the Biofam.
This is
the Training
another
Grounds.
one, kind of like TNT. Don't let them get reducers.
If it's a Thrasios Cradle deck, don't let them have reducers.
Yeah.
Because then if they're making 4 mana activations, that's super mana inefficient. Even if they have 15 mana, they're only getting 3. Like, it's a lot better than the alternative.
Yeah.
So it's still a very strong deck. I think this deck has a lot of tools at its disposal, which is also really nice. The Rog giving you access to like the Flare and all the kind of weird Rog stuff you can do, but also a really dense package of clones, which takes Bowmaster kind of out of the equation to a certain degree. And also clones just really good at taking advantage of other people's really powerful engines. So like if I spend a ton of mana getting, if I'm a Kinnan player and I spend a ton of mana getting into my Nezahal or my Unagi or my Consphinx, then you pay 2 mana and get a copy of it.
Right.
Because Kinnan might run the same amount of clones, but I feel like Thras has the biggest density of them. I could be wrong about that, but I do feel like they have it. Plus, they also have access to Underworld Breach. They can't get to it as consistently, but they still have access to it, and it's very easy for them to convert into a Breach win if they find the right cards. Some of them are on the Song of Creation package. Song of Creation is a really gross magic card if you can convert it to a win quickly. If you can't, then it's kind of SOLs you. But
So it's a very all or nothing play. That is their version of Ad Naz.
It is, but most of the decks that run Song are like built to take advantage of it.
For
if
sure.
They have it.
For sure.
So the deck is really strong. It's really powerful. It abuses probably the Valley Flood Caller better than most decks. But again, it's beatable. A well-timed board wipe does hurt this deck a lot. Doesn't take it out. I have seen them go from no board to winning in the same turn.
Oh, yeah.
You really are looking to counter those powerful reducers, which really help the deck. It's a lot harder to convert to win with no reducers.
Yeah. Also, cannot emphasize enough, once again, our boy Mayhem Devil.
Mayhem Devil's pretty good in this deck.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. It's trying to win mostly the Oboro line. So as long as you can keep the Oboro offline or just take out their Cradle or figure out a way to slow that deck down, it's kind of dead in the water. Most of the time it's going to make a ton of mana and then it's going to dirtle like crazy. And it just kind of depends on how well it dirtles.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it where a Thras player has dumped their whole hand, put a bunch of mana on board, and then they just look at the table like, okay, I'm here. we're getting our 1 to 2 Thrasios activations, and we're here. You guys are going to see almost every card in my hand.
Yeah, that is the weakness of it too.
Yeah.
Because then if I know you have interaction, I'm bullying the crap out of you to use yours.
Also, that's another thing. Sometimes in order to develop that wide board state, they forego interaction in the early turns. So I try to win before they get all their BS set up, like a well-timed Glinthorn Buccaneer. But what are you going to do about it, you know?
They are lower on creature interaction for sure.
Exactly. So once again, and I know this isn't applicable to all decks, but for my more proactive people out there, I just try to win before them, honestly. Sometimes it's difficult for them to keep the interaction, unless, of course, it's exactly fierce with Rog. But then, you know, it is what it is.
Yep. All right. So for our number one deck, to everyone's great surprise, it's Blue Farm.
It's Blue Farm.
Still the Titan of the format, still doing the thing. Every time we think this deck is dead, it roars back to life.
Yeah. There were like 2 weeks there where in our meta breakdown, we were like, Blue Farm's on the downturn. That didn't last. That did not last whatsoever.
Not even a little bit.
Those are little microcosms of a meta, but that did not speak for the whole meta.
The deck is just too consistent.
Yeah.
It has everything. It has all the tutors. It has all the draw engines. It has Breach. It has Thoracle. Like,
yeah.
It has the most efficient win cons, the most efficient draw engines, the most efficient tutors. It's got draw in the command zone. Like, the deck literally does everything you want it to do.
Silence effects as well.
Yep.
So you get the ability to silence your opponents. You get the best win con in Underworld Breach. You get Thras' Oracle. You get, I notice, I think the more successful farms recently have been on the more proactive plan. So you get cards like Rograk in the 98. Some run the Memnite package. Then you also have the more kind of Esper focused blue farms where you're a little bit higher on interaction and, you know, control farm. So you sit there, you draw your cards, you counter spells, you win the game. You know, like Blue Farm's play patterns are very predictable in the sense that they're probably mulliganing for some type of draw engine or some type of early advantage engine. I mean, you can counter the early advantage engine and make them pivot to Tymna or Kraum, but it's not going to make them dead in the water, honestly. I think that's one of the issues people find with Blue Farm is it's never truly dead in the water.
Yeah, it's such a high floor.
It is.
Like, at all times. The deck is consistently, like, good across the table.
It is. And even if you're top decking from one of the best card pools.
Well,
So,
you're never top decking because of Tymna. That's the other problem.
exactly.
Like, unless you're blowing out Tymna as well, like, the deck is just never. And most Blue Farm players are just going for Rhystic Study as early as possible.
Exactly.
And then, or they're going for Necro. Because that's the other thing. Yeah, it does have access to Necro and Naz, and most Blue Farms are playing both. Mm-hmm. And the deck is so consistent. If you give it an inch, it just, again, it's like another one of those. But, and it is a deck that I think most players probably struggle to play against because it doesn't look scary on its face, especially if it develops a little slower and you're like, oh, we've got time. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, here's my Naz. Or nope, here's my Underworld Breach. You know, Natty had it all.
That is the interesting thing about Farm.
It just has everything.
Well, you never quite know what direction they're going. It's kind of like TNT in that sense, right? Like Ral, you always kind of know, you don't know the specific spells off rip, but you know they're going to storm off into something.
Right.
Rogsai, you know it's likely Naz, Necro, or, you know, Tutor into Thoracle or Breach, right? Like very predictable. Blue Farm, you don't know if you're getting the turn 2 Necro, the turn 2 Natty Breach line, the turn 2 Rhystic Study and sit there and then push on turn 4. Like, you never quite know what kind of farm game you're going to get.
Yeah. But that is one of Farm's main advantage is that it's really strong across the board. But its weakness is that it's still not a 10 in everything, right? Like, it's still slower than Rogsai because of all of its commanders being more expensive.
Right.
It's good in the mid game, really good in the mid game, but it's not as good as some of those more dedicated mid range decks, right? Because cards like Naz and Necro start to feel really bad in a longer occurring game where people are punching the Blue Farm player, especially if there's no other deck in the at the table that's running Naz or Necro, so they're taking all the heat and the damage, and so some of its cards do feel bad drawing late. Whereas a deck that's more traditionally mid range oriented doesn't have as many cards that are dead in those long kind of running games,
Right.
But Blue Farm is the best deck in the format for a reason. It's because it's so consistent. And actually, for me, I feel like this is the deck I'd recommend to new players.
I was just going to say that as well. This is very new player friendly.
It teaches everything. It teaches you all the most common win cons in the format. It gives you a really good floor to play from. It's very forgiving to mistakes. And it teaches you things like Necro-Nas, which are also important because then that teaches you how to beat decks like Roxai.
Right.
It also has a really good interaction package, so you never feel like you're just sitting there banking on having to politic other people into doing stuff.
Right.
And it still has access to Ristic and Tithe, which gives you a very nice, easy game plans for newer players to be comfortable in, right? Like, always tutor for Ristic study, you're fine. And honestly, that's the joke, right? Play Blue Farm, take less game actions. But the deck can be got, right? Because it is only running Breach and Thoracle, and it doesn't have as dense of win cons as other decks, it is easy just to it is one of the decks where it is easy to take out their win, and then the deck just kind of sits there. I've also seen some people argue you can take out the Ristic study and they kind of sit there, which is true, right? The Tymna plan is significantly slower. So counting the early Ristic is smart. Most of them also aren't running the copy enchantments and the mirror maids and that stuff because the deck quality is too high to kind of, you're cutting really good cards to make room for those. So most decks are like, their Ristic study is their only copy. And then after that, they're out.
Yeah.
So
I would say that's fair. If Ristic Study would certainly slow them down enough for another deck to at least take advantage and win, because while you're never truly out of the game, it takes a second to set up the Tymna plan if you haven't set up the Tymna plan. So you're going to be behind a turn, if not two, to get that all set up.
And the deck can be out mid-ranged. Like, I've done it plenty of times where they had the Ristic study set up, and even the Smothering Tithe.
Oh, yeah.
And we still found ways there to pick up wins because the deck can sometimes draw the gas variant of its deck and not the wind variant of its deck.
I've been in that scenario many a times in Blue Farm where it's like, oh, I'm getting all my value pieces, but what does a Professional Facebreaker, Lotho, and 7 lands do for me? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So it is funny. Sometimes you get the gas half, but sometimes you get it when you don't want it, when you really want your interaction, and then you see the gas half.
Yeah.
So Blue Farm is, I mean, you can still get got by variants, even in the best deck in the format.
Yeah. And the deck is just very consistent. So when you play against it, you kind of know everything it's going to do, but it can also be got by speed. That was kind of the tension in the old Dockside format was like the Roxai were so much faster than the Blue Farms. So it was like, would the Blue Farm be able to stop the Roxai and then outdevelop them and win?
Right.
And, sometimes it was like always a toss-up.
Yeah. And I do find, to your point about winning, in Grixis, we can push multiple wins back to back. Grixis can continue to be the problem. I found when I was playing Blue Farm, I was doing one really protected win attempt, and I either got there or we drew in time.
Right.
Because you can't afford to just deploy the breach haphazardly and just throw it out there and see what happens. Because one really timed Force of Negation and you're instantly pivoting to Thoracle.
Yeah, because for the most part, where Blue Farm's really weak, probably the weakest among the mid-range decks, is its mana generation is really poor comparatively to the other decks we've talked about.
Yes. Mana is the pinch point for farm, 100%.
Yeah. Unless they have Smothering Tithe. That's like why Smothering Tithe can be such an important card for them, because it does fix that issue, but it's the only card in their deck that does. And so if they don't have access to Smothering Tithe for some reason, whether they haven't drawn it or got countered or whatever, they do struggle to create big mana plays in the same way that like a Roxai can, or a Rog Thras, or a TNT. And so they get really left behind when the mana generation is happening. And I've seen TNKs lose because they were just like a couple mana short more often than not.
Yep.
So they get away with it because Breach is so efficient, but if they aren't into the Breach and they're just having to do value plays, it can be a little bit tougher. And this is where you can kind of take advantage.
100%.
So, but yeah, these are the 10 decks, the top 10 decks in the format as we see them, and then kind of how you can address them. You'll notice it's a lot of Rog, it's a lot of Tymna. That's not a coincidence. To be honest, it's just not. Tymna and Rog are really busted.
Yeah.
I imagine if anyone actually looked at our format really closely and was like, oh, if we were to ban a commanders, which commander should it be? I don't think Rog and Tymna would be long for this world.
Oh, no. Not at all.
Especially Rog.
Yeah.
When 3 of the Rog variants are sitting in your top 5, you know that the card is powerful.
Yeah. I mean, all the advantage that we talked about before, right? It is so broken to have that in your command zone.
Rog with any blue commander feels just like it just does everything you want it to do.
100%. 100%.
So, but yeah, this is other top 10 decks. And let us know in the comments what you think. Did we miss any? Is there a deck we should have covered that you think is top 10? I feel like we're going to have some opinions on that Rog Ishai ranking.
Yeah, we probably will.
So, all right. So with that, we want to get to questions?
Yep.
All right, to questions.
All right, our first question for today comes from Andres Torres 1799. Do you guys have an episode where you talk about your decks or deck lists available? I think that would be good for content.
Yeah, we've talked about doing it, and I know we've been asked quite, especially TNT. I feel like that one gets asked for a lot. We have our deck list available. You can go to our Moxfields. We can put them in the description so you guys can look at what we're cooking on. Mm-hmm. I think both my deck lists are public facing, so like whenever I update them, I update them and the public knows. I have some people who I know religiously follow them because as soon as I make a change, they message me and they're like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Okay."
You're like, "I'm just testing. Don't ask questions."
So I definitely know there's a few people who are like following it pretty religiously, and that's actually super cool. Mm-hmm. The only reason we haven't done a video on there is because we're just not sure how valuable it is to the majority of the audience. Like the people who really want to know about TNT will of course get value out of it, and the people who really want to know about Mock and Vial will of course get value out of it. But we're not sure that the majority of our audience like gets a lot from it. Mm-hmm. But if we get enough people who are like, please, 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 we might do it. It's kind of on our like docket of stuff that we want to get to. We just want to make sure we focus on the educational content kind of first and foremost.
Yeah, I see it more as maybe a filler episode that we do if we're kind of coming off of a tournament and just need something that we can just put together.
Like something that doesn't require as much planning as like a lot of these episodes do.
Right. Fair. Like we don't dive into the weighty educational content like we have some weeks, but just hey, we're coming off of, Ohio or what have you, and here's a video about our deck lists, right? But I don't know. I do wonder if people would get value from it. I know before we did ask the TNT question, and a lot of people said yes to the TNT question.
So maybe it's just something
be fair.
It's just something we just need to we should do.
Yeah.
I mean, my video, because I did a video for TNT a while ago on my old channel, and it's been a while, so that video is like super outdated.
I don't know.
Maybe it's worth looking at.
If we get more comments about it, if we get more requests for it, we will certainly oblige. So.
For sure.
All right, our second question for this portion. This is from Jimmy in our Discord server. How would both of your favorite decks be impacted by a hypothetical heuristic study ban? And how would you pivot to ensure a card draw?
Oh, my deck would go crazy. TNT would be fine because we already have card draw in the command zone, which would be infinitely better. Most games that I'm winning on TNT, I'm not playing heuristic study anyway. So if in a heuristic study-less world, the deck hums more along, I think, because I don't have to worry about like playing into a heuristic study or how to like fend the heuristic study. Only place I worry a little bit is I do think heuristic study banning leads to more turbo decks because turbo decks don't have to worry too much about like, oh, well, if they get their engine down early, then I'm kind of in a weird position to where I can't push. Because I actually think the interesting part is card draw is not usually a problem for most decks without heuristic study. Like I think a lot of decks, heuristic study is better. But I think most decks that are like high tier CEDH decks do just fine without heuristic study. Where heuristic study is really strong, though, in my opinion, is two places. One is it makes turbo decks think a little bit before pushing, because the idea is that you could push an interaction, that interaction comes up, you get stopped by lots of interaction. The other kind of sub point to that is if you push early and feed too many cards to somebody, then that person can untap and win really quickly, maybe otherwise quicker than they wouldn't. So there's kind of like that diametrically opposed forces there of like, okay, they're going to draw interaction or they're just going to win if I attempt early pushing into the heuristic study. And so I think there's like this idea that heuristic study stops turbo decks from winning. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but I do think it makes them think just a little bit more about whether or not pushing into that is smart. And especially the more drop. The kind of second point to that is, and it's very similar to one of the sub points, is whenever a battle happens, so like people will push early, there's almost an incentive to kind of be the person that doesn't push first in CEDH currently. For sure. Because with heuristic study on the board, interaction comes up more often. And so when you're pushing into a heuristic study, you're more likely for that person to draw interaction if you're the first one pushing, because interaction really hasn't been used. Whereas in a heuristic study-less world, in theory, there should be less interaction at the table that ever shows up because there just aren't as efficient draw engines. And so in theory, again, we don't really know because we don't live in a Ristic-less world. In theory, though, you should see less interaction and should be able to you're more incentivized to push earlier, I think. I mean, you could still run into like early interaction that was held up, but I think generally you're probably going to end up you're going to run into less interaction, which might incentivize more proactive decks. So I do wonder sometimes if mid-range would really suffer. But man, if it doesn't, if we're wrong, then TNT eats well. Truly.
I don't think Malcolm Vial is all that affected either, right? Like it's kind of like what you said. My games are better with heuristic study, and boy, is it nice to top deck the interaction that you need at the perfect moment, or just top deck gas and go to your turn and win. Like that's really fun. I don't think the deck is harmed too much by it. Honestly,
There's so many draw engines nowadays.
I've already shoved so many engines into that list. Like I am on Fairy Mastermind right now. Like I don't know. I think it would be okay. I'd probably try to be a bit more proactive. Like you said, in a Ristic-less world, I would probably be one of the first decks to push the issue at the table. Now sometimes I'm the first deck to push an issue at the table, right? So I think I would probably find myself falling into that play pattern more, maybe more early Nauses, maybe add rituals to the deck, try to go into ad Naus harder. So, I don't think my deck would be harmed by heuristic study ban at all. And, even my sub deck, I think Blue Farm does just fine without heuristic as well. Tymna and Kraum in the command zone were inherently fine. You also shove so many engines into Blue Farm, they'll be fine. And also probably just pivot to pushing earlier anyways. So
yeah,
I don't think my lists really mind all that much.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Ristic it'd be interesting to see how Ristic plays out. I'd love to see an event where they ban Ristic and just see how players play into it.
I would love a Ristic-less side event, right?
Just to see. Yeah.
Give me a redemption event at one of these massive tournaments, right? Where we get like 90 or 100, still decent players, right? Still probably tournament grinders, and just let us play without Ristic study.
And see what happens.
Yeah, I would love to see data, experiences, anything from that.
Yeah, to see if it's like the Turbo Doomsday that people predict, or if it ends up being fine.
Right. If the top 16 is Ral, Rogsai, Atali, Tymna, Dargo, you know what I mean? If it's all Turbo, and there are side events with Ristic Study being banned that are consistently all Turbo, then we know something. Yeah. But, if there's still TNTs, Kinnans...
Right now, it's all speculation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see what happens.
Same.
All right, question 3.
All right, our third question also comes from our Discord, and it is from Targ or Chris. What is the best way to go about playing my first few games? I'm really interested in the format, and I've proxied a list, but I'm having cold feet about slowing everyone down by not knowing what everything in everyone else's decks do. I've been mulliganing and practiced my lines, but where do I go from here?
You just got to play. That's the honest part. CEDH is much... So, I want to start with this. People think CEDH is super sweaty, and yes, it is, but it's also extremely welcoming to new players, especially if it's not a tournament setting. Tournament setting can be a little bit different because people do get a little frustrated at newer players in tournament settings. I've experienced this, Liz experienced this, most people have. So if you're not in a tournament setting and you're sitting down for your first games and it's just in a casual group, with 3 players, or if you're playing online or whatever, right? And just say, hey guys, I'm a little bit newer. Most players are going to be pretty patient with that, right? Because we've all had to start there. We all were new at one point. We were all learning the format. Some of us had never played CEDH before. Some of us had never played Commander before. Some of us had never played Magic before, right? There's always a jumping off for some people. So just play. That's really the best thing you can do when you're first starting out, because that is going to expose you to kind of a little bit of everything. Practicing your lines and mulliganing is great, but just don't be afraid to jump into a pool of players, especially in your local area. I find that these are the people that are most welcoming, because at the end of the day, we all want the format to grow, and the only way for it to grow is for more players to enter it. So I find like 99% of groups are extremely welcoming to new players, are happy to teach, happy to show you the ropes and teach you the lines and do the thing. And outside of a tournament setting, which even tournaments, like, I've only seen a couple times where players have had like really bad reactions to newer players, and it's usually because like the newer player did something that threw the game. But like, I don't know, this is just a natural experience of the game.
Yeah,
it's just something you have to accept when you play. We've learned to play around newer players. Like Sometimes it's helping them out and pointing out things to them while they're still learning the ropes. You know, do you get them sometimes? Sure. Like, you know, just like you would in a 60-card game. You know, the skills are a little bit different, but the objective's still the same, right? You're still trying to win the game at the end of the day. So, but after games, I will be happy to talk through things that were happened, showcase lines that could have been wrong. Like if you ask me after the game, you're like, hey, Jordan, I'm not sure, you know, I feel like I did something wrong there. Can we talk about it? And I will be completely honest about what went wrong and how you did it and everything else so that players can learn, because why not?
That's the thing. Even in tournaments, even though it is a sweaty environment, I think it's really only sweaty for while you're playing. But I have seen so many people have discussions after the game, like, "Hey, where did this go wrong? Hey, did this one play throw the game on its head? What could I have done differently?" And you know, this isn't an advocacy for throwing yourself headfirst into a tournament when you don't have reps on a deck. Like, you know, doing a breach line or whatever deck it may be, doing a line for the first time in a tournament is really terrifying. So try to find a group of like-minded people at your LGS. I know people like to joke a lot, like, oh, why the league hate? But like, genuinely, we don't hate leagues either. If you want to go get reps on a deck and a spell table setting on a league, go ahead and do it. And I think online in your own home, just with your spell table or convoke setup, can be a really great way to learn as well. And you can also talk to people online after the games or message people like, hey, what did you think of this? And genuinely, I find the community is pretty welcome and pretty accepting to that. And people will yap with you about your games after your games. So I just say don't be afraid to jump in. And jumping in is really the best thing that you can do, because the longer that you avoid it, the more you're going to kind of build it up in your head and, you know, think that it's some scary experience. But see, I think the CEDH base is generally pretty welcoming. So
Yeah, I mean, even when I showed up to my first tournament, I threw games. It happens. You just roll with it, play the game. We're here to have fun at the end of the day, right? And as long as you keep that mindset of it's fun, we're here to have fun, you'll be fine. That's the last of our questions?
yeah.
All right, cool. So then, with that being the last of our questions, we'll switch to the meta breakdown this week. And once again, we're talking about a tournament we played in, funny enough. So we're actually going to break down the meta for the Guaranteed Beta Wheel, the Land Go X The Gathering Place tournament we just played in this past weekend. The Gathering Place is not our local LGS technically, but it's very close. Like very close. It's like an hour away. And it does host a lot of the bigger events.
Not you doxing us on the internet.
You have to go an hour in any direction and you still wouldn't find us.
I'm just giving you shit.
Anyway, I mean, people know we live in North Carolina. Like that's not unknown. But anyway, our little local area, the Raleigh area, is very interesting with its meta. And I feel like it kind of flows between a lot of like off meta decks where people just like kind of throw out to have fun. A little bit of turbo, probably a little bit more turbo leaning than I would say it normally is. And then, you know, there are still some really good players that show up and play like their mid-range piles of good stuff. So It's always a very interesting meta. But, you know, if you look here, we had the top four is Radadrabig, which is, you know, ended up taking it down. And then you had our buddy Malik on Kefka. And this Kefka deck is really good. I think like really, really good. And it can be very controlling and do the thing. I think it's a little bit of a boomer bust deck. And, you know, even his record kind of indicates that it was a little bit of boomer bust. But I think it, you know, for the most part, does really good. This Brigid deck, we've seen Brigid popping up a little bit more here and there. Yeah. This deck is terrifyingly fast. And I think it catches people off guard by how fast it really is.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have an answer for Brigid, you're kind of SOL. But Brigid's also really fragile. You just kind of remove her once and she's, you know. Celeste is really cool commander. It's like wheel on a stick. It's got some oh crap, what's it called? Combos. Putrid Goblin. What is he?
Persist.
Persist, thank you.
Persist.
Jesus. Persist combos that you can do. I think a lot of people though are running it mostly as like a value breach deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. Marnius, this is like Boomer's pretty known for his Marnius list. He had a good performance here. Rock Thras showed up. Raven always doing really well in Kinnan. Another Kinnan. We had Dashiel on Aang. This deck, if you haven't gotten a chance to play against it, is really crazy as well. It's like Garuda and Natali had a baby, basically. I like the best way to explain it. Because you're trying to hit like clones and value creatures off of Aang to continue to spin through your deck until you find win. So it's really interesting in like how it's constructed and everything.
And normally Dash is a Crick player, so it's interesting to see them on something not mono black, which is kind of cool.
Like the exact opposite of mono black, really.
Yeah, right.
Crave is on his TNT. His TNT list is ridiculous. He's running
Omniscience, Show and Tell.
Crave is also one of the few people that was pioneering like a different. I feel like there were two major TNT builds for a while. It was like the NBC TNT, the Nomad Cards version, and then my Tree Farm variant. And I think Crave is like kind of in this weird middle place where he's running like elements of both, but he's on mostly his Razaketh lines.
Yeah.
And doing like kind of old school Razakats thing, but in his own take on it.
Yeah.
And then Omniscience Show and Tell was something he added to this. That's crazy. That's all I'm going to say. That's just crazy.
Cooking.
We had a Ral. We had a Tivit. I took my Terror list. I finished 13th. Necro sucked for me all weekend long. Every time I necroed, went terribly wrong.
Jordan finally felt the variance of Turbo. We were talking about it one day, and he's like, this list always does the thing. Like, I always resolve the wheel with an Ocean Thief, or I had 2 Smothering Tithes, or point to the game with 3 Heuristic Studies. He finally felt the variance of Turbo, where you whiff on the Necro, and your deck just tells you to go screw yourself.
Not once. Not twice, but 3 times.
3 times.
3 times I whiffed on Necro. And it wasn't like I had like nothing, right? It wasn't like I was necroing into oblivion. I had one where I had used a Pedal and a Simian Spirit Guide. That was it. I had a Valley Flood Crawl on the board, and I ripped it for like 37 cards. Nothing. I had one castable spell, and it was a Mox Amber, and I didn't have a commander or a legendary, so I was like, sure. The second time, I ripped it for 7, and then I never got to go back around. I just lost. The third time, and I looked, had I ripped it for a bunch, would not have gotten there. Would not have gotten there. The third time, it was in the top 16 game. Things were going poorly. We were playing against the Radijavi player. We had done everything in our power to slow him down. This deck is weirdly, like, it's weird to interact with, so you have to have very specific pieces. Terra does not have those specific pieces. The deck is greedy as shit, and I built it to be greedy as shit. So I'm trying to find another way through. I draw into Necro. I cast the Necro. I have like a decent mana base up. So it's like if I draw into Manamorphose, I'm pretty much good. Like I just need one of those cards has to be Manamorphose, which was like not a great position to be in, but not a terrible one either. There's also like a world in which I hit some other stuff that gets me there. I needed like a couple of specific cards. I could use Simeon, and Final Fortune would also have worked. Manamorphose would have worked. I didn't see anything. Oh, once again, I had nothing castable. Not a single damn thing. Like somehow, not a free rock. Like even if I'd had a flash enabler, I couldn't have cast anything. That's how down bad it was again. And I was just like, well, shit.
You finally felt the variance of Turbo.
But I did get to survive a go around on that one. I did a whole bunch of crap.
You did.
Ripped a wheel, and I was like, cool. If I hit
Breach.
I had to hit exactly
You had to hit
Breach. I got to see 15 cards off of a wheel and Terra. No, that's not true. Not 15. It would have been 7, 5, 12. As long as one of those cards is Breach, I win. And I was down to like 40 or 50 cards left in deck, so it wasn't like a terrible percentage chance.
Guess what you didn't hit?
I wasn't even close. Breach was all the way at the bottom, in fact. So, rough go of it. Terra still feels fun, though, which is why I played it, because it's my have fun deck.
Yeah, might as well.
We had a Time in 14th. Fun fact, Time should have won. I know he's been kicking himself. He should have won our game, though, for sure. He's been kicking himself. And there was some weird stuff that happened in that game that I don't want to get too much into, but he probably should have won, if we're being honest with ourselves. Time has my number, bro. I don't know what
Tie him into top 4 would have been spicy.
It would have been like the third time that's happened at TGP.
Yeah.
We had a Rog Sai and then Obnixilis. I haven't seen an Obnix deck in forever.
That is so random.
And then look at you, Lily 17th again. Yay! Queen of the Bubble. That's what we've called her in one of the chats. Queen of the Bubble. Wait,
what chat is... Wait, hold on.
Oh, shit.
Where are you talking...
This is even better. This is even better.
Where are you talking your shit?
This is a nice little treat for you later. The WNC chat, they have a little picture of you, Queen of the Bubble.
God God damn it.
Yeah, Lily.
This is what I get for having a day job and not checking Discord at fucking 1 p.m.
So she gave me the 17th of this, 17th of the Boil, and then the Kraken's Cup was a top 10 cut and Lily was 11th. And then even funnier, the ECG tournament we did, Lily was 11th for a top 10 cut, and then the player dropped before the round started, and so Lily got to move into 10th. But technically, she should have bubbled 4 times in a row.
Anyways, great episode, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we appreciate the support. We're ignoring what's going on over here.
Well, back to the meta real quick. So, yeah, you can see our meta is freaking weird, right? All these off-meta weird decks. Like, you wouldn't... Like, when's the last time you've seen an Obnix, right? And when...
Our buddy Jake.
Never seen a Ratadravig, except for this one person. Brigid, I think you're seeing Brigid a little bit more, but I still think it's going to be fringier.
It's fringe meta, but certainly fringe.
Celeste, you never really see. Marnius is, like, rare, I think. Aang is coming around more, but I still think it's, like, this weird kind of off-meta deck.
Ral and Tivit are pretty common.
Yeah, Tyam is a little bit more off-meta, but...
I'd probably call Terra fringe.
That's
What
fair.
you're doing is fringe, that's for sure.
Fair. That's probably super fair. So, yeah. Our meta's fun. I would definitely say it's not reflective of the greater United States meta in any region.
This was turbo hell. I had 3 triple turbo pods.
I had 2 triple turbo.
Yeah.
I was one of the turbo, though.
Yeah. I don't even count myself in the turbo. There's 3 decks that are not me.
I had a quad turbo pod, which I haven't seen one of those in forever. We agreed to draw.
I mean, I guess if you count me, I had a quad turbo pod.
Yeah, because like that pod, it was... Who was in seat 1? It was, because it was Gwenham across from me. Gwenham is always super fast. Rogsai. What was next to me, though? That's what I'm trying to remember. Hold on, I'm going to have to look. Was it? Oh, it was Ral. It was Ral.
Yep.
So Ral, Gwenham, Rogsai, 5-color turbo, and Terra.
One of my pods, it was Rowan, myself, Rogsai, Ral.
There's a lot of Ral, I think, at this event.
There really was.
So, yeah. Very interesting meta. It's always an interesting tournament when we play TGP. I never have a lot of luck at TGP either.
TGP is an interesting little, like, micro meta.
Yeah, this is the place that I've had the worst. If I have, like, terrible CEDH luck, it always comes here. This is the place where my birds got swords turn 1 after the Boil 2. This is the place where I played Rock Thras and had outplayed everyone at the table, and I just needed to find a flash enabler. I was going to look at like 30 cards. I needed to find a flash enabler in there. Ezo was still in my deck. Crop Rot was still in my deck. Valley Flood Call was still in my deck. Born was still in my deck. Cord was still in my deck.
Man, I watched you dig for that. You did not get there.
The most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I was like, holy shit, how am I not finding anything?
Right.
I just needed one of them to win the game. Instead, I lost to the other Rock Dash because I tapped out of all my mana searching. And I had a Biofan. Like, I had like 40 mana and a Biofan. Like, how did I not find it? I still think about that game. Like, how ridiculous was that?
I do feel like if variance can get Jordan, it will get Jordan.
At TGP, for sure. I don't know what it is about this place. I never have any luck here. Like, most of my worst tournament experiences end up at this particular location. Because also, it's also the place where, like, I was goofing off and everyone was offering a draw, and I was like, nah, fuck it, I want to try and win. And then I lost, and I was totally dicking around. I was being so unserious.
Oh, and then you didn't end up
breaking.
And
then, because I thought I was so locked, it didn't matter. And I was like, I'm trying to go for it.
You bubbled out.
I did.
This was a Jordan bubble.
It's because I thought I was super locked, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care. Like, I want to try and get to first place so I can skip the
You
semis.
got greedy.
Yeah, I thought I was, like, hard locked. My breakers were great. My points were excellent. And then I somehow bubbled out, and I was sitting there afterwards like, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
Because mathematically, it shouldn't have even happened. That's the whole point of playing that spot.
It's funny.
Because I was in table 1. I was like, what the hell?
It's funny that you always have such cooked tournament experiences there, because I feel like, my experience is the opposite. This is one of the few venues where I have been first seat in Malcolm Vial coming out of Swiss. And there have been plenty of tournaments where I've done, decent on Malcolm Vial, but haven't been first seat, right? So this is one of the tournaments where I've done that. I really enjoy their play space and the overall vibe and atmosphere, and the fact that they have pizza. Like, The place is such a vibe, which is so funny to me that you always have cooked tournament experiences in a place that is so chill.
I come back for the pizza. They have the largest pizza slice in North Carolina, and it's amazing. At least I think it is. It's the largest pizzas I've ever seen. It's like, if you look at this table, it's
Yeah.
It's about it. Like
it's 2 paper plates length, like 2 full paper plate lengths. Like it's
and it's not even. It doesn't even
chef's
fit on.
kiss.
It doesn't even fit on the paper plates.
Yeah, the end of the pizza, the like first bite part of it will hang off. It's
And the sides hang off.
chef's
It's amazing.
kiss. Yeah, truly.
Amazing. If I can find a picture of it, I'll throw it up on the screen.
And also a Raising Cane's within walking distance.
That's so mid. Raising Cane's is so mid. I'm sorry.
We're not starting this debate at the end of the episode.
It is.
Anyways, everybody, thank you for your support. Like, comment, and subscribe. Join our Discord to listen to more of Jordan's mid-opinions on food. It's the same man who doesn't like lumpy mashed
I knew
potatoes.
I knew it. That's why I was laughing, because I was like, I know she's gonna fucking say it. Anyway, we do appreciate all the support, and it's meant a lot to us. Hitting the 1,000 subscribers was a big deal for us, just because it was like a goal we'd set out for early of like, hey, we want to try and hit 1,000 by this point, to kind of gauge where we imagine the channel could go and where we wanted to grow it from. And so it's been really awesome to kind of see how it's gone so far. And we just really appreciate everyone, and the people who've come up and, talked to us at tournaments and who've reached out and given us some feedback. We just really appreciate everything. And, we're going to try and continue to always improve the channel and make it as educational as possible for everyone.
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's crazy that there are 1,000 individual people who have chosen to subscribe and watch our content. And, we really appreciate it as we continue down this content creation journey. So yeah, continue to comment, continue to leave your questions. Let us know what you want to see, and we'll be happy to do it.
Yep. Thank you again, everyone. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.